Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. In today's video, we're going to talk about the biggest funeral in the world that's happened in a very, very long time. It's the funeral of the Grand Ayatollah Khomeini, and this is happening in Iran at the moment. Funnily enough, there's also the 4th of July, Independence Day, which America is also celebrating. But I don't know why they're celebrating, because they're not really independent, are they, guys? They might have fought for independence, but they're not really independent. They are definitely an occupied state. But let's talk about Iran. As you can see from the images, guys, there were practically millions and millions of Iranians basically mourning the death of their Grand Ayatollah Khomeini. It probably is the biggest, largest funeral I've ever seen in my life. I'm also going to be talking about Apple and how Apple got hacked in India. And somebody in India has basically hacked and uploaded all of Apple's data into the internet, into the dark web. So I'll be talking about that. But first, let's talk about this funeral, first of all. So you have these psychos like Laura Loomer, who's openly asking for, people at the funeral to be targeted, which is absolutely disgusting, guys. I wouldn't expect anything less from these kind of people. So who turned up in these funeral events? You see the Saudi delegation that arrived. The funny thing is, the Saudis didn't actually get invited, but they still arrived. But you got to give them some credit for attending, because the other Gulf countries did not attend, or they were not invited. For example, UAE were not invited. Bahrain was not invited. Kuwait was not invited. But I believe Iraq was there. I believe Egypt was there. I believe Qatar was there. And but yeah, I think the countries that were very much colluding with the United States in terms of bombing Iran, they were definitely not there. Let's have a look at the list of countries that came and didn't come. So as usual, the top three Iranian partners, I would say, is Russia, China, Pakistan. Russia and China are obviously the main partners, and they helped Iran during the war. Pakistan were the main people that were pushing for peace, so that's their role over there. I'm not sure why India is there, to be honest. I don't think there's much love lost between India and Iran, especially after India backstabbed Iran a few times now. Turkey and Iran do get along. And you got all the Central Asian countries. You got Iraq there. You have Georgia, Armenia, Afghanistan, Oman, Qatar, Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan. There's more. Uzbekistan, Bangladesh, Egypt, Kazakhstan, Ghana, Nicaragua, Congo, Serbia, Tunisia, Lebanon, Namibia, Malaysia, Cuba, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Gambia, Thailand. The countries I do not see in there are the West and their allies. For example, there's no Japan, there's no South Korea. I don't see any of the European nations in there. There's not even one European nation in there at all. Nope, there isn't. Qatar is there, as I said, but the rest of the Gulf states are not there for obvious reasons. There's a lot of African countries who are not there as well, which I find a bit strange. But there are a few African countries, but just not enough. by the looks of it. It's interesting to see North Korea is not there, to be honest. I would have expected North Korea to be here, especially when North Korea has been very supportive of Iran. Maybe they are here, but maybe they haven't updated this list, because this list might not be the full list. Maybe North Korea did send a delegation. We'll probably know by tomorrow. So the thing is, guys, Saudi Arabia attending, even though it's good to kind of show your respects. It's like the murderer turning up to the murder scene, or the murderer going to his victim's funeral. It's like that, basically. That's the old saying goes. Saudi Arabia was used as a staging ground to launch attacks on Iran, and especially kill the Grand Ayatollah Khomeini, as well as many other people in Iran, and especially those school girls as well. So yeah, they don't really deserve to be at the funeral. But the fact that even though Saudi Arabia didn't get invited, but they still turned up, you got to give them some credit for that. Because, for example, all the other countries that did not get invited, none of them turned up. And I think it's a missed opportunity, to be honest. It's a very, very missed opportunity. Because if any countries do turn up, or did turn up in this funeral, I'm pretty sure that Iran would have looked at them very, positively in the future, especially when it comes to, letting ships go on the Strait of Persia and giving them, access to oil and gas contracts, reconstruction contracts. So there's a lot of benefits to be had. And I think this is a massive missed opportunity from Western countries not turning up. And especially like Japan, South Korea, I think it's been a very, very missed opportunity for them. Because all the countries that have turned up, I'm pretty sure that Iran will look at them very kindly in the future, and they will probably prioritize their ships to go through the strait, and many other benefits as Iran becomes a superpower in the region. So I think it's a missed opportunity. It's very much a missed opportunity, similar to these Western countries not turning up for China's Beijing Olympics. So during the Beijing Winter Olympics, you see all of the Western countries and all the allies basically boycotted the games. And it was a very, very missed opportunity because, the countries that did turn up, they got absolutely amazing deals, like Russia, like lots of Central Asian countries and many other countries who did turn up. They got absolutely amazing deals from China. And China never forgets, its friends and the people that support China. They never forget them. And the same way with Iran, they're very loyal people. If you show love to an Iranian, they will show double the love back. It's like that. So it's a real missed opportunity by the Western countries, and I just think they, at least they should have sent some delegation or something just to build relationship and trust. Because not sending anyone in there, it just shows that there's no remorse. Trump and the allies basically don't care about Iran, don't care about the people, don't care about, obviously, the Grand Ayatollah Khomeini that they killed. So yeah, it just doesn't really bode too well, to be honest. And shame to obviously the Iranian moderates who are really pushing for, relationships with the West. And this is how the West treats Iran. This is how the West treats Iranian people. But but these moderates, they still want a relationship with the West. Why would you still want a relationship with the West when this is the way that the West treats you? Imagine if Trump got, assassinated or bombed, what do you think America would do to that country that does that? Do you think they will start a war with them? Do you think they will nuke them? Of course they would. Of course they would, guys. So yeah, I think what they did to Iran was unforgivable, guys. Unforgivable. Anyway, let's move on. I wanted to talk about this really hilarious story that's come out of India. So Apple iPhone 18 Pro, we know that quarter of the iPhones are made in India at the moment. And one of the reasons Apple moved to India because they wanted to de-risk from China. And so they set up factories in India, and obviously they moved a lot of the manufacturing to India, lots of jobs, and also lots of suppliers. Not all the suppliers. I think most of the suppliers are still in China, but a few suppliers have moved to India based on Foxconn telling them to do that. Foxconn is basically organizes all the contracts and supplies for Apple. So what happened is iPhone 18 Pro, all of their files got hacked in India. Every single one of them. We are talking about 630 gigs of leaked data. 630 gigs, guys. Do you know how big that is? You know, even my hard drive doesn't hold that much data, and my hard drive's holds around 500 gigs or something. 200,000 public files, and all of the supplier data, basically. So all the suppliers Apple works with, all the parts, all the pictures of all the parts, all the technical data, every single thing has been hacked. So I'm also seeing, I was doing some research on this, and I also was looking at some websites in India, and there's a lot of details that's missing from the West. What they don't tell us is Apple was actually, this was hacked from Apple months ago. And apparently it was some Indians, and these Indians were basically trying to extort money out of Apple. They wanted basically money and cash from Apple, millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, I think. And Apple refused to pay. And so they were pretty much negotiating for a few months, and Apple basically refused to pay them. And it's only recently that they released all these files. I think it was yesterday they released all the files on the dark web because Apple wouldn't give them any money. Apple probably thought they were, you know, they were joking, or maybe they didn't know how much data that these people had. They had everything, guys. They had everything. And this was an inside job as well, because they had access to these files, and they knew where to get them from. And so somebody somewhere inside India has basically given away all of Apple's secrets, all of them. And it was definitely an inside job, because nobody can get this kind of data if it wasn't an inside job. So Apple basically spent years and hundreds of billions of dollars to move to India, to move some of its manufacturing, because they wanted to de-risk from China. For all those years they've worked in China, not once any data got leaked, by the way. You know, they worked 10, 15 years in China, and not one incident happened in China where any data got leaked. But they moved to India, and within a couple of years, all of their data gets leaked. It just shows the difference between China and India. So all that money that Apple have spent, hundreds of billions of dollars, basically will probably destroy the company just because they wanted to save a few dollars and stuff. They wanted to de-risk from China, so they wanted to obviously say, de-risk and save a few costs. I don't think they saved that much money, to be honest. But their decision is probably going to destroy Apple, to be honest, because all of this data is out there now, and there are companies in China who they've got a list now of all the suppliers and all the parts. So what they're going to do is build an alternative Apple phone. They got the supply list, and all of these suppliers, most of them are still in China. And even the supply list where Apple changed to some suppliers in India, they still have the supply names for the old suppliers in China. So they have all of the suppliers and all of the parts. So a Chinese company, they're already going through all of the data, and there's a few Chinese companies who are already starting the manufacturing of these iPhones. And one thing we do know, these iPhones are going to be made better and a better quality and cheaper in China, because with Apple, there's a lot of hidden costs as well, that they charge. But if there's a new company that opens in China and they have a brand new Apple phone, their costs are going to be much, much cheaper than Apple, much cheaper. And also, the other thing is, guys, these some of the parts are also coming in from TSMC, like the semiconductor, for example, the 5 nanometer chips or the 3 nanometer chips, I think. So that's the sticking point you're going to get. And also, they do get lots of DRAM stuff from South Korea, but there's already Chinese DRAM companies who can replace that. And also Huawei can replace their semiconductors as well. So it still might be a very, very good product. And if a Chinese company releases an Apple phone, they're not going to call it Apple. They'll call it something else, and they will sell it as the same spec as Apple, and just as fast. And if they sell it for maybe 1/3 of the price, imagine there's going to be queues outside the door, trying to get in, trying to get this product. This is going to destroy the company because there's going to be a lot of fake Apple products as well, all over the internet and shops. And I'm not talking about Chinese companies making Apple phones. The whole world will be making fake Apple phones because they got everything now. They got all the data. So there'll be a lot of companies all around the world, trying to put together their own version of the Apple phone. And there's going to be a lot of fake Apple phones all over the internet, and all people will buy it, all of the shops, and you won't know the difference between the real one and the fake one. That's the danger that's going to hit Apple very, very soon. There's going to be so many fake iPhones all over the market. This is going to kill the company. I'm telling you, this is going to absolutely destroy the company. Already the share prices have taken a big hit for Apple today, and they're already going down. So we'll see what happens. But it kind of serves them right, because I've seen another story about how the iPhone 17e has got Israeli chips on it. So they decided to get Israeli chips or Israeli products into iPhone 17e. And people are already saying this is huge spyware risk. And people are already getting arrested because of it. I mean, look at this article. Israeli spyware used against ex-Greek MEP during probe of illegal surveillance. So these people already have iPhone 17s, and already they are getting hacked. Their phones are getting hacked. Their data's being compromised. It's not just this incident as well. Look at this. Israeli spyware Pegasus was used to hack iPhone of former member of the European Parliament. So you see, guys, iPhone announced the iPhone 17e with a chip developed in Israel. So you see, they deserve all of this, guys. Apple is finished. Who would want to buy an iPhone 17e or 18 full of Israeli spyware? They can blow up in your face as well. I mean, people have not forgotten these pages in Lebanon. Remember when Israeli, products were in that pager, and that pager exploded in people's faces? Well, the same thing could happen to the iPhone. If Israel's got hold of it, they could put some small explosive in these chips, and boom, boom it goes. They can identify, obviously, who's using the phone, what time. They can monitor them, and if they don't like someone's social media post, they can just blow them up. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it could happen, guys. I'm telling you, this is Israel we're talking about. Absolutely crazy. So, do you remember Caroline Levitt? She's the press secretary for the White House. There she is. So the White House press secretary. So she's come on a talk show on Fox News, and they were talking about how Americans don't have jobs and they can't find work. So she was basically having a go at Gen Zs. She's saying that Gen Zs are lazy. They're born with the silver spoons in their mouths, and apparently all the Gen Zs need to be sent to Iran to fight Iran in a war against Iran. That's what she's saying. So basically, she's saying all Gen Zs are useless and lazy. Well, I know a lot of Gen Zs, guys, and I've seen the job market out there, and the job market is brutal, guys, brutal. There are so many graduates out there looking for work. They can't find work. Not in America, not in Europe, because these companies who love capitalism, by the way, they find ways to cut the cost, and they cut the cost by hiring, obviously Indians and people from using H-1B visas, and a lot of companies now use AI. So these companies are letting go of jobs or cutting jobs. So the new generation of Gen Z and stuff, they just can't find work, even if they apply to like 1,000 companies. They hardly get any replies at the moment. It's a crazy job market in the West at the moment, guys. When I was growing up, and when I finished my university, I mean, I had jobs galore. I mean, I could literally leave one job and I can get another job within days. And I've never been off work for more than a few months. I've always been on work or in work ever since my 20s, early 20s. So the job market has been very, very good for me. But that, but that's because I was born in a time when, you know, in the 90s, in the 2010, the economy was pretty good. Well, up till 2008, the economy was good. After 2008, everything crashed. So that's when obviously everyone started struggling. But up till 2008, I was getting very, very good salaries, and I was getting job after job after job. I was getting headhunted as well. While I was working, I used to get headhunted by agencies, and other companies used to call me and say, "Would you mind leaving your job and joining us?" So the job market was very good when I was growing up. But I don't see that kind of job market anymore in UK or in America or in Europe. I think that is gone now. I think we're heading to a big economic downturn, depression, and there she is in Fox News, just making the fun out of Gen Zs when it's got nothing to do with them. It's not their fault. Unbelievable, guys. So finally, I want to cover Donald Trump here. So Donald Trump suddenly out of nowhere is now blaming communism. He says communism is the greatest threat to our country, including World War One, World War Two, Pearl Harbor, September 11th. That's what he said. I'm not joking. And yeah, he just suddenly started attacking communism for no reason. And why is there sudden attack on communism? I mean, let's get something clear, guys. Has communism ever attacked America or any Western countries? You know, have they ever done anything to Western countries? Have they attacked them? Have they attacked them like economically, physically? You know, have they dropped bombs on them? Have they pushed for, you know, who did the, 9/11s? Was it the communists, or was it, they're blaming communism for everything by the looks of it. And he says he's also blaming communism for World War One, World War Two. But we know who started World War One and World War Two. But it's not the answer you think, by the way. Obviously, I'm not going to say it because of YouTube, but I'm sure a lot of you know who started it and who benefited from it. And yeah, so why is it suddenly attacking communism? But because at the end of the day, right, there's no real communist states at the moment. You know, every country, you look at every country, there's no real communist state. The obvious choice is China. People will say China, but China is not a true communist state. China's system is socialism with capitalism with Chinese characteristics. It's not a true communist system. Same with Russia. Russia's system is very similar to the Chinese. It's, socialism with capitalism with Russian characteristics. And the same with Vietnam, with Vietnamese characteristics. But there is no true communist state out there. So suddenly he's just blaming communism or blaming, he says it's the greatest danger to America. What happened? I thought Islam was the greatest danger to America. Why the sudden push to hate communism? I just don't get it. It just came out of nowhere, guys. Unbelievable. There's something brewing, guys. There's something brewing. Anyway, I'll end it there. I'll let you guys have a conversation on the comment section, and I'll see you there. Take care for now. Bye-bye.